objective of this video is to add 3 different curtain wall types as I just described. Since they are 3 different types of curtain walls, we will add them 3 different ways. First, we'll offset some reference planes and lay out the curtain wall 1. Then we'll add the exterior glazing curtain wall. Lastly, we'll add the storefront by picking the center line of a radial wall. So to get started, let's jump into our curtain walls file, or any file that you want to put a curtain wall in. I'm going to jump over here and pick on this wall first. To get started, in our project browser, let's go to Level 1, Floor Plans. On the Architecture tab, let's go ahead and on the Work Plane panel, click the Reference Plane button. On the Draw panel, let's click our Pick Lines button. Let's give it an offset of 4 feet. Now let's hover over the outside of our exterior wall and offset the line in 4 feet. On the Draw panel, go ahead and click on the Line button. Let's keep our 4-foot offset. I'm going to draw it from this end point. As you see, it's going to the outside. If you hit your space bar, it'll flip it to the inside. I'm going to draw it straight down like this. I'm going to pick a point. I'm going to hit escape a couple times. So let's add a curtain wall to this area. On the Architecture tab, click the Wall button. In your Properties dialog, in the Type Selector drop-down, let's click the down arrow and scroll all the way to the bottom. Let's grab Curtain Wall 1. In Curtain Wall 1, let's click on Edit Type. Let's make sure Automatically Embed is checked on. Let's click OK. For the base constraint, we'll keep it at level 1. For the base offset, let's set in 1 foot. For the top constraint, we'll go up the level roof, but for the top offset, let's set in -1. Now what we're going to do is zoom in on this area and make sure you click on the intersection of the core center line and the reference plane we drew. Pick that point, let's come straight over and click the second point. Let's hit escape a couple times. Revit draws in a giant blank panel. We can go to a 3D view and check it out, and it is what it is. It's a giant hole. In the project browser, let's go back to level 1 floor plan. Let's select this reference plane and let's extend it straight down. Let's right click on the reference plane and let's create similar. On the draw panel, let's keep our line button selected, and for the offset, let's give it 4 feet. I'm going to do the same thing, and I'm going to draw a line straight up. I'm going to hit escape a couple times. Let's go to the Architecture tab. Let's click the Wall button. In the Properties, let's go to the Type Selector drop-down, and let's grab Exterior Glazing. Now let's click on Edit Type. Let's make sure we automatically embed it, and we can change some spacing. So for the vertical grid layout is fixed distance. Let's change that to maximum spacing. For the spacing, let's set that to 4 feet. For the horizontal grid, let's do the same thing. Maximum spacing. For the spacing, let's go 4 feet. We won't use any vertical or horizontal mullions. Let's click OK. Let's keep the base constraint and the base offset and the top constraint and the top offset the same. Let's zoom in on this area. Let's click the same intersection, the core center line of the wall and the reference plane. Come to this intersection, it adds it again. Let's go to a 3D view. Notice it's the same type of wall, only it's divided into segments. Okay, one more. In the project browser, on the floor plans, let's go to level 1. Let's zoom over to this radial wall here. On the Architecture tab, click the Wall button. In your Properties, let's click the drop-down, and this time let's grab Storefront. Let's click Edit Type. Let's scroll down to the grid layout. Instead of maximum spacing, let's go Fixed Distance. We'll keep 4 feet. This time let's adjust it for the mullion size. Horizontal grid, layout, fixed distance. Let's change that to 4 feet. And again, we'll adjust it for mullion size. Now as you can see, there's vertical and horizontal mullions that are added to it. We'll keep the default for now. Let's click Apply, and let's click OK. This time for our base constraint, we'll keep it to level 1, but for our base offset, let's type in 3 space 7 and hit Enter. For the top constraint, up to level roof is fine. Let's push it down 2 feet. Click Apply. Now instead of drawing it straight, we're going to go ahead and click on the Pick Lines button on the Draw panel. Zoom into your radial wall and make sure you're selecting the core center line. Once you see that blue dotted line, click it. If you receive a warning like this, that's fine. Sometimes it can't make some of the reveals, but that's okay. Close out of the warning. Let's go to 3D view. Notice now that we have a radial curtain wall. We zoom in on it. We see now we have mullions and glass panels. So now that we know the difference between the 3 different types of curtain walls, we can really start to do some cool stuff. Once we have a curtain wall in place, we can start manipulating the grid configuration. This can be done with any type of the 3 different curtain walls we've added, but I'd like to use the exterior glazing type. With this video, we'll be adding the exterior glazing type curtain wall. We'll then edit the profile of the wall to have two 45-degree sides. Then we're going to adjust the rotation of the grid to match the 45 degrees we added to the perimeter. So to get started, in the project browser, let's go to level 1 floor plan in your curtain wall model. Let's zoom in on this wall here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to draw an exterior glazing curtain wall. I don't care about the offsets here and here because we're going to change these to be 45 degrees anyway. So on the Architecture tab, click the Wall button. In your Properties, let's make sure we select Curtain Wall Exterior Glazing. We don't have to worry about the base constraint or the top constraint because we're going to modify this wall. Make sure you do, however, click the core center line of the wall to start it. Come over about 30'6" and pick a second point. Now what I'd like to do is go to my south elevation by double-clicking the annotation. Now to select the curtain wall, hover over one of the edges of it, and then hit your tab key. I had to hit it twice. Once you see the outline of the wall selected, pick it. Now on the Mode panel, click Edit Profile. On the Draw panel, go ahead and click your Line button. I'm going to start a line right from here. I'm going to come down at 45 degrees. I'm going to pick a spot right here. I'm going to do the same. I'm going to pick a spot right about here. I'm going to come down again at 45 degrees. On my Modify panel, I'm going to click Trim Extend to Corner. And I'm going to trim out these lines just like this. I'm going to hit Escape. On my Mode panel, I'm going to click Finish Edit Mode. When I hit Escape, you see I have a pretty funky looking curtain wall. Now my grid I want to manipulate. So I'm going to go ahead and select my curtain wall again by using the method we looked at before. Hovering over one of the lines, hitting Tab a couple times, and selecting it. Now what I want to do is click on this item right here, Configure Grid Layout. We can adjust the vertical and horizontal increments, and we can also adjust the vertical and horizontal rotation. I'm going to select this 0.00 degrees. I'm going to type in 45 and hit Enter. I'm going to do the same on this one. I'm going to hit Escape a couple times. So now we have a curtain wall at 45 degrees. Let's go to 3D view. Notice how different our curtain wall is starting to look. So now we're talking. Who says Revit can only do rectangles? When we add a curtain grid with an automatic layout, we can pretty quickly add a curtain wall with predefined increments and spacing. Of course, suppose you'd like to keep the overall spacing, but add and move individual grids independently. Well, you can certainly do that. The objective of this video is to find a predefined curtain wall already embedded within a host wall. We will then unpin the horizontal grids and dimension them. We will equally constrain the dimensions to get the grid back on layout. Then we'll add a new grid for good measure. To get started, let's jump into any file you want to add a curtain wall to, or jump into our file, our moving curtain walls. In the project browser, let's go to the south elevation. What I'm going to do is zoom in on this 45-degree curtain wall. We can't move them. Go ahead and hover over one of our grids. Notice that we get a grid line that lights up. Once you see that, pick it. There's not much we can do with it because of our little pin icon here. What we're going to do is unpin each of these diagonal grids. So with this grid selected, unpin it. Select this grid and unpin it. Let's do that for the rest of them. Now we can move them independently. What I'd like to do is put a string of dimensions across here and equally constrain them. On our Quick Access toolbar, let's click on the Align Dimension button. In one continuous movement, we're going to go ahead and select all of these lines. So go ahead and pick the first one, and the second, third, fourth, fifth, and then lastly up here. Now to place my dimensions, I'm just going to go ahead and go outside of my wall and pretend like I was going to pick another spot. So go ahead and just pick a spot right about here. Now with the dimensions still selected, uncheck the EQ button. Let's hit Escape a couple times. Notice now that all of our grids are equally constrained. Go ahead and select the string of dimensions and just click Delete. Let's make sure we unconstrain them. Now what we can do is move them independently. So if I select one of my grids, it's at an odd increment because they're equal. But if I select this, and I say I want this one to be 2 feet, I just type in 2 feet and hit Enter. Now I can move my grid 2 feet. And also add a grid. So on the Architecture tab, click on the Curtain Grid button. And we'll see that if we hover over this diagonal line, we can add one in that direction. If we hover over this line, we can add one in this direction. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to hover over this line. I'm going to add one right about here. I'm going to hit escape. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove this one segment. So I have a big square here, but these ones are divided. So I'm going to select my grid and I'm going to click on add remove segments right here. I'm just going to click this segment. I'm going to hit escape. So by doing this method, we can allow Revit to basically lay out our overall grid spacing. Then we can go back and manipulate whatever grids we wish. You're going to use this feature quite a bit, I promise. I added a radial curtain wall. We can go into an elevation, then actually create a roof by extrusion. Once we're done doing that, we're going to attach the curtain wall to the extruded roof. Then we're going to hide the roof, giving us a curved top on a radial curtain wall. So in our project browser, under elevations, let's go to our east elevation, or whatever elevation is pointing straight at your radial curtain wall. What I want to do now is create a roof by extrusion. So on the Architecture tab, next to the roof icon, click the little drop-down arrow and find Roof by Extrusion. Revit's a little confused because it doesn't know where the work plane is. In essence, it doesn't know where to start or end our roof. That's okay, we're just going to physically pick a plane, and once we're done, we're going to quick edit it to be a little bit smaller. So with pick a plane selected, go ahead and click OK. I'm just going to click this wall here that's facing us. We can leave the level roof and offset by default, so click OK. So now what I want to do is in my properties, for basic roof generic 12-inch, click on edit type. I'm going to click on duplicate. I'm just going to call it generic, and I'm going to hit OK. Under structure, let's click on the edit button. Let's make the thickness 1/32 of an inch. Let's click OK. Now let's click OK again. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to zoom into this area. On my draw panel, I'm going to click on my arc button. I'm going to pick an endpoint right here. I'm going to come over to this side. I'm going to pick an endpoint right here. I'm going to come over to here and pick this midpoint. Then I'm going to hit escape a couple times. Now I'm going to click on the Finish Edit Mode button. Now I'm going to go to a 3D view. I'm going to select my roof. I'm just going to drag it out so it extends beyond my wall. I'm going to click the other side and drag it in so it's not so big. Now I'm going to select my curtain wall. Make sure you hovered over it and you see that alignment line that indicates the outside perimeter of your curtain wall. Go ahead and select that. Now on the Modify Walls tab, click Attach Top Base. Go ahead and select your roof, and that's fine. It's going to delete some curtain wall mullions, but that's okay. So click Delete Elements. Let's hit Escape a couple times. Now let's go ahead and select that roof. Let's right-click. Let's hide in view elements. Now if we pan around, we'll see we've done it. We have a radial wall with a radial top. Kind of looks like it's smiling at you. Actually, I've been told this is impossible. Okay, yeah, this was certainly a workaround, but hey, we did the impossible, right? Not all curtain walls are squares or rectangles. Many take on other forms, such as including a radial top. One video in this course has us using a floor to attach the top of our curtain wall to. This one's going to be a little bit different. By finding a curtain wall that's already modeled in place, we're going to make some edits to the profile. Then we're going to investigate some of the warnings that Revit kicks out and examine them a little closer. So to get started, jump into your Revit model. The first thing I want to do is add some mullions to this curtain wall right over here. I'm going to zoom in on this curtain wall. I'm going to select it. In my properties, I'm going to click Edit Type. I'm going to duplicate it. Exterior glazing 2 for a name is fine. I'm going to hit OK. I'm going to scroll down to my mullions. I'm going to change all 6 of these fields. For my interior type on my vertical mullions, I'm going to hit the drop down. I'm going to grab 2.5 inch by 5 inch rectangular mullion. I'm going to click into this field and highlight the entire thing. I'm going to copy it to the clipboard by hitting Control C. I'm going to paste it into the 5 remaining fields by hitting Control V. The same for the horizontal. Once that's in there, just click OK. Now it's changed. What we'll see though is the wall is flipped in the wrong direction. That's okay, we can fix that. In the project browser, let's go to floor plan level 1. Go ahead and select your curtain wall. Notice that you get a little flip grip. Go ahead and click on that flip grip. It's going to flip the orientation of your curtain wall. Hit escape a couple times. Now that we're in the plan view, let's scroll out. Let's find our south elevation. Double click it and open it up. Now we're going to hover over this curtain wall. It's easier when you just hover over one of the edges. I'm going to hover over the bottom edge until I see the entire thing highlighted with blue, then I'm going to select it. Now on my mode panel, I can click on Edit Profile. Now on the Draw panel, click our Arc button. I'm going to scroll into this intersection right here. I'm going to go down to the corresponding intersection on the other side. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and grab the midpoint of this mullion here, and I'm going to hit Escape. Now I'm just going to clean it up a little bit. On my Modify panel, I'm going to click my Trim button. I'm going to click this line to this arc to this line, and I'm going to hit Escape a couple times. What I need to do is select this magenta line that's become orphaned and delete it. We need to have an entirely enclosed loop with no errant lines. So select this line here and delete it. Now that that's all set, let's click on Finish Edit Mode. Revit's going to give us an error that can't be ignored. A lot of times when we're making edits to a curtain wall, Revit wants to tell us that we need to delete some elements. If you remember, we had a bunch of mullions up in here. Revit wants to delete them. This is fine, so just click on Delete Elements. And there we have it. Go to 3D View and check out your new radial curtain wall. So now, no shape is going to be too much. Curtain walls don't just have to be glass and aluminum. Actually, they can be any material that you wish. By reconfiguring an in-place curtain wall, we will add a newly created wall type to the 4-foot horizontal strips in our curtain wall. We will also duplicate and change the glass tint on some of our panels. So to get started, let's jump into our Revit model with the curtain walls. The first thing I want to do is make this one panel. So to do that, let's go to our project browser. Let's find our north elevation. What I'd like to do is get rid of these mullions that go along this row. First thing I want to do is select this little piece of mullion and then delete it. Now let's hover over this mullion and tab a couple times until we get to the center line. Once you see the center line, pick it. Now on our curtain grid panel, let's click Add Remove Segments. Let's select this guy right here. Revit's telling us that it's going to delete that curtain mullion. That's okay, delete him. Let's do the same thing here. Hit Escape a couple times. Hover over this, tab a couple times, select it, add remove it, delete the mullion. One more here, tab, select it, add remove, delete the element, and lastly, let's just delete this last curtain wall mullion. Now if we zoom out and come to this edge, hover over the end of it and tab a couple times. So once you see that entire panel selected, pick it. Notice that we've turned this into one long panel. Perfect. Now, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to infill this with the same exact wall material that we see adjacent to our curtain wall. To do that, let's go to our project browser. Let's scroll down till we get to Families. In Families, let's scroll down till we get to Walls. Let's go to Basic Wall. Let's find exterior brick and CMU on metal stud. Double click on that. Let's click the Duplicate button. And let's call this Brick Curtain and hit OK. Now for the type properties, under View, let's make sure that the section, we need to get rid of some of these fancy extrusions. For structure, let's click the Edit button. In the Edit Assembly area, let's go down to Sweeps right here. Select the top one and delete it, and delete all of them for that matter. Click OK. Let's go to Reveals now. Let's delete all the reveals as well. Click OK. Now what we want to do is zoom into this area here. Let's click the Merge Regions button, and notice that we get a little arrow pointing up or down. Let's wait for it to be pointed down and merge the brick down. So now it's just a big brick wall. The last thing we need to do is delete this concrete layer. So click on number 2 and simply delete it. Now let's click OK. Let's click OK. And there we have it. Now what I want to do is zoom in on this wall, hover over that edge, tab a few times, and select it. Now in the properties, we're going to hit the drop down. We're going to scroll up to the top. We're going to find our brick curtain, and we're going to select it. We can hit Escape a couple times. Go to a 3D view. Notice that we get some lines showing up that we don't care for. Let's get rid of them. Let's go to the Modify tab. Let's click on the Line Work button. For the line style, let's go down to Invisible and click this twice. Let's click it twice here. Now we're good. Let's hit Escape a couple times. Now, next thing I want to do is create a green glass panel. To do that, let's go back to the project browser. We can minimize the walls. Let's go up until we find curtain panels and double click on that header. For system panel, let's double click on glazed. Let's duplicate it. Let's call it green. Let's click OK. Now for the material, click into where it says glass. And let's click this builder button right here. In the search category, let's type in glass. If you don't have any search result windows down here, go ahead and click on this button. This will add or remove the panels. I'm going to scroll down here and let's see what we've got. I'm going to grab glass, green. For shading, let's use render appearance. Let's click OK. Let's click OK again. Now I can choose which panel we want to make green. I'm going to go ahead and choose this top one. I'm going to hover over this panel and tab, tab, tab until I select it. I'm going to pick it. Now I'm going to right click on that panel and I'm going to go to select panels. Now I'm going to go to along horizontal grid. Now that I have all those panels selected, I'm going to go back to my properties. I'm going to hit the drop down. I'm going to put it on system panel green. I'm going to hit escape a couple times. This wall sure looks different than it did when we started. The objective of this video is to create an in-place family. It will be a curtain wall mullion, and we will sweep a profile around our curtain wall. So to get started, let's jump into our curtain wall model, or whatever model you're working on. I'm going to zoom in on the funny double radial wall. What I want to do is extrude a mullion around these three edges. So to do that, we're going to start with an in-place family. So on the Architecture tab, on the Component button, click the little drop-down right here, and select Model in Place. For specific category we want isn't in here, so I'm just going to go down and find Walls. I'm going to hit OK. We'll call it Front Entry Sweep, and then we'll hit OK. Now under our Forms, let's go ahead and click on the Sweep button. Now for our sweep, what we want to do is we want to select our Pick Path button. It's important that we pick this line first, and then go around and pick our other edges. Because we're going to go to a plan view, and we need to be able to look straight onto our profile as we draft it. I'm going to zoom in here and pick the outside edge of this wall. Now I'm going to pick this big sweep wall here. I'm going to pan around to the other side. I'm going to pick this edge right here. Now let's clean it up a little bit. I'm going to hit escape a couple times. I'm going to select this line. I'm going to pick it and drag it down to this point right here. The bottom of it, I'm going to select this and drag it right down to where it hits the concrete. I'm going to pan around to the other side and do the same thing. I'm going to select this line. I'm going to drag it down. I'm going to select this line and I'm going to drag it down. Perfect. On the Mode panel, I'm going to click on the green check mark. Now in my project browser, I'm going to go to Level 3 Floor Plan. Now for my sweep, I'm going to click on Edit Profile right here. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my Pick Lines button. I'm going to pick this line here. I'm just going to drag my line in a little bit. I'm going to make sure it's the entire size of the wall. I'm going to select the line, then click my Copy button. I'm going to pick a base point, and I'm going to copy it over about 4 inches. On the front, I'm just going to put a little radius. So on my Draw panel, I'm going to use my Start and Radius Arc button. I'm going to pick this point here, this point here. I'm going to come out with a radius and hit Escape. Now I'm going to use my Line button, and I'm going to close off the back edge of it. As I do this, feel free to draw any shape you want. Let's go to our properties. For material, let's click into where it says By Category, and click on this little button right here. Then aluminum. I'm going to select aluminum from the list. I'm going to click OK. I'm going to click on the green Finish Edit Mode button, and I'm going to click it again. I'm going to go to a 3D view, just to make sure it's being drawn. I'm going to click Finish Model. What I've done is successfully draw a free-form sweep. Well, that's pretty cool. It certainly opens us up for some more design ideas. The objective of this video is to create 3 freestanding curtain walls. We will then select the adjoining ends and switch the mullion type to a trapezoidal corner after we unpin them all. So to get started, jump into your curtain wall project or any project that you want to put a curtain wall into. In the project browser, I'm going to go down to Level 1 Floor Plan. I'm going to pick on this back edge. So I'm going to zoom in here. I'm going to draw a curtain wall. On my Architecture tab, I'm going to click the wall button. In my properties, I'm going to click the drop down. I'm going to grab that storefront curtain wall. My base constraints level 1. My base offset is 0 feet. I can go up to the roof level and knock it down 2 feet. That's fine. I'm going to come in here and I'm going to eyeball a point about 1'6" off the center line of the bottom wall. I'm going to come out about 12 feet and pick a point. I'm going to come up probably another 12 feet, pick a point. Then I'm going to simply terminate it back into the brick wall. I'm going to escape a couple times. Pretty lousy corners. So what I'm going to do now is go to a 3D view. I'm going to pan around, so I'm looking almost straight down at it, but not quite. Now what I'm going to do is, with a box, I'm going to go ahead and pick a window right around those interior mullions. Now I'm going to scroll around so I can see the pins. The problem is we need to unpin each of them. So zoom in and unpin them. The taller the building, the more tedious this is going to be. Couple more. Well, now we're done once this becomes selectable. And there it is. So let's click the drop down. Let's go to 5-inch trapezoid. Revit gives us a hard time about this one because it's overlapping. So let's delete them. So what we did was we had 2, now we only have 1 in the corner. Then when we pan around and look at it and click off of it, we'll see that we have that corner. Let's give it a shot on the other side. I'm going to pick a window. I'm going to pan around. I'm going to start unpinning. Make sure you don't hit escape or anything during this, or you'll have to go back and start over again. You do jump around a little bit. And one more. Let's quickly drop down to change it to 5-inch trapezoid. It doesn't like the fact that they're overlapped. There's 9 of them. Let's delete them. And there we have it. So for this video, we simply grabbed the corner type of mullion that came with the software. It sure would be nice to learn how to create these mullions. This video has assigned a predefined spider fitting family. Then we will insert it into our model. We will then divide up a curtain panel and cut a couple sections. We will then stick the splitter fitting to the 4-way intersections of the panel points. We will then add some framing to complete the structure. So to get started, let's jump into our curtain walls project. And what I want to do first is divide up this curtain wall. So to do that, I'm going to go to my north elevation. I'm going to go to my architecture tab. And I'm going to go ahead and click on my curtain grid button. I'm going to zoom in here, and I'm going to put it in about 1 foot from one side, 1 foot from the other, 2'6" up, 1 foot down. Then I'm going to put 1 at each level. Then I'm going to hit escape a couple times. I'll click curtain grid again. I'm going to put 1 right in the middle, then divide that into halves as well. Then I'm going to hit escape a couple times again. Now, what I want to do is, I want to look at the inside face of this wall, so I'm just going to simply cut a section. To do that, let's go to level 1 floor plan, and on the quick access toolbar, let's click the section button. I'm going to pick a point from here to here. Then I'll hit escape a couple times. I'm going to double click on that section. Okay, let's bring in some spider fitting. On the architecture tab, I'm going to click the component button. I'm going to click on load family. I'm going to browse to the exercise files folder and find my spiderfitting.rfa file. Then I'm going to click open. Now this thing wants to stick to everything. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to pick this intersection. But I'm going to keep going and pick each intersection individually because of the fact that, because I want this fitting to maintain a host to the wall. So if the wall moves, our fitting will move also. It's a little more tedious, but you'll get it. And if you forget one or if one is off, obviously you can go back and fix it. One more row, and we're almost there. Beautiful. Let's go to a 3D view just to make sure that they are where we think they are. Excellent. Pretty cool looking little fittings. I'm going to go ahead and click on my finwise button so we can get a better look at them. It's easier if you select one, then rotate around it just to see how one looks. Pretty cool. Okay, now let's go down to level 1 floor plan and put some columns in. Let's go to the structure tab. Let's click the column button. This one's pretty boring, so let's load one. So let's click on load family. Let's scroll down till we find structural columns. Let's go to steel. Let's go to HSS Hollow Structural section. Let's click Open. Now I'm going to scroll down and find a 10 by 10. Let's go 10 by 10 by 1/4. Let's click OK. I'm just going to eyeball a spot right about here. I'm going to type AL for a line. I'm going to pick my fitting center line first, pick my column center line second. I'm going to pick my fitting outside face and click my column outside face. I'm going to select my column, go to the properties, make sure the top level is going up past the roof. I'll give it a top offset of 1 foot. I'm going to click the copy button. I'm going to make sure multiple is selected. And we're just going to go ahead and pick the center line and go all the way down. So I'm framing in my spider fittings. I'm going to go to a 3D view. I'm going to check it out. Perfect. Looks like we're all set. So remember, if you move the curtain wall, the fittings are going to move as well, but not the framing. You can find these fittings anywhere, already modeled. I like the face-based the best because they will move with the curtain wall and are easier to install. So go ahead and use the ones that I provided with this class. This family will be a simple profile that is categorized as a mullion. We'll then load it into our project to get ready for installation. So to get started, let's open up our curtain walls model. I'm going to click the R drop-down. Now once my menu flies out, I'm going to go New, I'm going to go Family. My family is going to be a profile, mullion. Once profile mullion is selected, click Open. Now here's what we're going to want to do. Our mullion is going to face this way. As you can see, center front back reference plane. And to give you some clues, curtain panels are trimmed to where the profile sketch intersects the center front back ref plane, which is this. So if we have a line out here or out here, our curtain panel is going to be cut back to that line. So let's get started. I'm going to start adding some lines. So on the Create tab, click the Line button. On our Draw panel, go ahead and click the Pick Lines button. Let's give it an offset of 1 foot. I'm going to offset this line out 2 inches. So let's give it an offset of 2 inches. I'm going to hit Escape. I'm going to work my way down. I'm going to trim these out. On my Modify tab, I'm going to click my Trim button. And I'm going to trim these like so. And I'm going to hit Escape. I'm going to select this line. I'm going to click Copy. I'm going to pick this endpoint. I'm going to come down an inch and an eighth. I'm going to go to my Create tab, click Line again, and I'm going to draw 2 lines at a 45-degree angle. I'm going to trim again, and I'm going to clean up this edge. Hit Escape, and go ahead and delete this reference line. And I'm going to go ahead and offset down 4 inches. On my Create tab, I'm going to click my Line button. On my Draw panel, I'm going to pick lines, and I'm going to offset 4 inches. Hit Escape and trim it up. Now I'm going to offset 3/4. Create, Line, pick lines, 3/4. And while I'm at it, I'm going to offset inch and an eighth. I'm going to go up and down. Now I've got some splitting to do. So on my Modify tab, I'm going to click my Split button. And I'm going to delete the inner segment. I'm going to split this line here, and here, and then here, and then here. Now we can delete the remnants of the line. We can trim the edges up. Let's split again. We can trim again. It escaped a couple times, and it's a simple profile. Let's save it. Click the Save button and save it somewhere that makes sense to you. I'm just going to call it Custom Mullion. I'm going to click my options, and my maximum backups will be 1. I'm going to click OK. I'm going to click Save. Now I'm going to click Load into Project. That's in my project. I'll keep repeating this. Go to the manufacturer that you're going to spec for your mullions. I think you'd be happy to see that they will probably have your mullion modeled. The objective of this video is to add a blank panel. We will then add horizontal and vertical grids of our choosing. So to get started, let's jump into our Revit curtain wall model, or whatever model you may be working in. In the project browser, I'm going to go to Level 1 Floor Plan. I'm going to pick on this wall right here. To get started, let's add some reference planes. So on the Architecture tab, click the Ref Plane button. On the Draw panel, let's choose our Pick Lines button. Let's give it a 6-foot offset and add options. I'm going to zoom in here. I'm going to offset the line in 6 feet. On this side, it's not as convenient. So on my draw panel, I'm going to click on my lines button. I'm going to keep the offset at 6 feet. I'm going to draw a line straight up from this intersection. If it's going in the wrong orientation, just hit your space bar. It'll flip it in. I'm going to pick my second point. I'll just select this line, drag it down a little bit, and I'll do the same here. Now let's draw a curtain wall. On the Architecture tab, click the Wall button. In our Properties, let's make sure we have Curtain Wall 1 selected from the Type selector. The base constraint is level 1. Let's not give it a base offset. The top constraint is up to level Roof. Let's give the top offset minus 2 feet. Let's click Apply. Let's click on Edit Type. Let's make sure Automatically Embed is checked on in the Value column, and hit OK. Zoom in close. Make sure you're on this intersection. Come all the way down. Zoom in. Make sure you hit the same intersection, but on the other side. Hit Escape. Now let's go to our north elevation. We have a big blank panel. Now let's start adding some grids. On the Architecture tab, click the Curtain Grid button. Now notice that if we hover over a vertical line, we'll put a horizontal segment in. If we hover over a horizontal section, we'll put a vertical section in. It seems confusing, but that's how it works. What I want to do is put a couple verticals in. So I'm going to put one right about 10 feet. Then I'm going to put one up at about 4 feet. My next one about 8 feet. Next one above that about 4 feet. I'm going to do some distances on it. I want to have 4 feet total. So I'm going to click my distance button. I'm going to click here to here. And from here to here. Let's do the same for the verticals. On the Architecture tab, click the Curtain Grid button. I'm going to add a vertical at 4 feet. I'm going to add a vertical at 4 feet. I'm going to add one more in the dead center. I'm going to hit Escape a couple times. Now I want to put a couple segments just right here. I'm going to click the Curtain Grid button. Now under my placement, I'm just going to go one segment. I'm going to go 3 feet on both sides of my center line. I'm going to hit Escape a couple times. I want to get rid of this middle line, so I'm going to select my grid. Notice that I can add or remove segments. I'm going to click Add, Remove Segments. I'm going to click this segment right here. I'm going to hit Escape. Now we're moving. Let's zoom in on this one little segment. Let's click on Curtain Grid. Let's go one segment. I'm going to come down till I'm at about 8 feet. I'm going to go all segments again. I'm going to put one across the bottom at about 1 foot. I'm going to hit Escape a couple times. I'm going to select my 1 foot, add, remove segments. I'm going to get it out of here, which would be convenient for a door. So we don't have to rely on Revit for everything. Although this method can really be tedious, it's the best way to create a non-uniform grid pattern. The first step is to find a pre-existing Mullion family in our project by searching through the project browser. Create a new family and add a custom profile to that family. Then we'll need to configure it within our curtain wall. So to get started, let's jump into our curtain wall project. The first thing I want to do is define a new mullion. So let's go to our project browser, and let's scroll down till we find curtain wall mullions. Now let's find rectangular mullion. Let's start off with the 1-inch square. Double click on it. Let's duplicate it. For the name, let's call it custom mullion, and let's hit OK. For the profile, let's click the drop down. Let's grab custom mullion, custom mullion. We'll leave it perpendicular to the face. We won't make it a corner mullion. Material will keep it aluminum. Let's click OK. Now we have a custom mullion ready to put into our curtain wall. In the project browser, let's go to level 1 floor plan and add yet another curtain wall. I'm going to put one on this wall. On the Architecture tab, I'm going to click the Ref Plane button. I'm going to offset it 2 feet. Let's make sure we offset it down. And for the bottom, let's simply draw it out. We'll keep the 2-foot offset. On the Draw panel, we'll click the Line button. Let's go from this face. Let's draw it straight out. Let's hit Escape. Now let's click the Wall button. In the Properties, let's click the drop down. Let's select Exterior Glazing. Let's click Edit Type. Let's duplicate it. Let's call it Exterior Glazing Custom. Let's hit OK. Now what we want to do is scroll down to the vertical and horizontal mullions. We're going to apply our custom mullion to all of these. So where it says None, click the drop down And let's scroll down to where it says Rectangular Mullion, Custom Mullion. I'm going to select this and copy it to the clipboard. I'm going to Control V. I'm going to paste it to every one of these. There may be instances where you have more than one different type of mullion. For this class, we're just going to put them all in one. Let's hit OK. Face constraints level 1. We'll go up to the level roof, and our top offset can be minus 2 feet. I'm going to click this intersection right here. I'm going to click this intersection right here. It's going to add our mullions. Now remember, we can always select our curtain wall, and we can flip the direction. That way our ledge is on the inside. Let's go to a 3D view. Let's zoom in. And there's our custom mullion. So all those crazy mullions you see out there aren't too far out of reach now, are they? The first step is to create a panel using the curtain wall panel family template. Then we're going to load the family into our model, find an existing curtain panel, duplicate it, and add our double panel to the system. So to get started, let's open up our curtain wall project. Let's click the purple on our drop-down to get inside the 6 a second. Once our drop-down comes down, let's go to New. Let's go to Family. This time we want to select Curtain Wall Panel. Let's click Open. Now what we're going to do is create an extrusion. On the Create tab, let's go to Extrusion. On the Draw panel, let's click our Pick Lines button, and let's offset it 1 inch. Offset it up. Let's offset it down. Now for our offset, let's type in 0. Click this line and make sure you pick the Lock button. And come down to this side. Pick this reference plane and make sure you lock it. Let's hit Escape a couple times. On our Modify panel, let's click the Trim Extend to Corner button. Let's clean this end up. Let's come down and clean up this end. Let's hit Escape a couple times. Now I want to offset this line up 1/2 inch and down 1/2 inch. So on the Draw panel, click the Pick Lines button. Let's offset 1/2 inch. Up and then down. On the Modify panel, let's click the Split Element button. Let's delete inner segment. Let's split this line here and then this line here. Let's click Trim Extend to Corner and let's clean it up. Let's come down to this side. Let's do the same thing. Split element. Remember, you might have to tab onto the line you want to split. Let's trim it. There we go. Well, right, let's make it glass. So for the material, let's click into where it says By Category. Let's click the Builder button. Let's select Glass. Let's click OK. Now let's click the green Finish Edit Mode button. Let's go to the Project Browser. Let's go to the Exterior Elevation. Let's click the Align button. Let's select the top line. Now let's click our extrusion and make sure you click on the Lock button. Let's hit Escape a couple times. Let's go to a 3D view. Let's set it to realistic. Now let's click the Save button. Go ahead and save it as Double Panel. Under Options, let's make it 1 backup. Let's click Save. Now let's load it into our project. Let's select our curtain wall. Let's go to the Properties. Let's click Edit Type. And the curtain panel, let's click the drop down. Let's scroll down to Double Panel. Let's click OK. Now we have a double panel. Let's make sure our thin lines are turned off. I'm going to go to View, Callout. I'm going to open up my callout. I'm going to set the scale to 1.5 inches equals a foot. Now here we have it. Again, this is a 2-step process. We create the family, load it into our project, and apply it to the curtain wall. The devil is in the details. I think that's the term. Well, certainly how the mullion eventually gets manufactured is line work, but let's try something different. This video will demonstrate how to create a detailed item that we will embed into our mullion family. From there, we'll load it into our model, and it will update all of our mullions. To get started, let's open up 2 models, our Detailing Mullions model and our Custom Mullions family. Let's create a new family by clicking the purple R, New Family. The type of family we want is going to be a detail item. Go ahead and select Detail Item. Let's click Open. Now, let's go over to our Custom Mullion RFA file, and we're going to copy these lines. I'm going to hover over one of these lines, but not pick it. Then I'm going to hit my Tab key, and it's going to highlight the entire perimeter. Once it highlights, I'm going to select it. On my Clipboard panel, I'm going to click the Copy to Clipboard button. I'm going to click Control-Tab and go around to my family. On the Modify tab, I'm going to click the Paste drop-down, align the current view. Now I'm going to come in here, and I'm going to start drawing lines. Keep in mind, you can draw any kind of details you want. You can even insert AutoCAD into here. It really doesn't matter. For this exercise, we're going to make a few lines. So go to Create, Line. On the Draw panel, click the Pick Lines button. Let's give it a 1/8 inch offset. Let's hover over any one of these lines and hit Tab, then pick it. It'll offset the entire perimeter in. I'll just take a few more lines. So on the Create tab, I'm going to click my Line button. I'm going to go straight down about 1.5 inches. Come straight over, then come straight up. I'm going to draw a line from here to here, and a line from here to here. Hit Escape a couple times. Now do something similar up here. Create, Line, and draw a line straight out, then up. I'm going to select both these lines, and I'm going to mirror them over. I'm just drawing anything. I'm going to click the Save button. I'm going to call it Mullion Detail. Now I'm going to click Save. Now I'm going to click Load into Project. I'm going to load it into Custom Mullion. Then we'll load Custom Mullion into our project. So click OK. Now here it is. Now I'm going to come right to this intersection here and select it. I'm going to align it and lock it now. I'm going to type AL. I'm going to select this reference plane. I'm going to select the center line of our detail, and I'm going to pick the lock button. I'm going to do the same horizontally. I'm going to lock it. I'm going to save this file. Now I'm going to click Load into Project again. This time it's going to be into our Detailing Mullions project, and we hit OK. We're trying to load the Family Custom Mullion. We're going to overwrite the existing version. In our project browser, let's go to our level 1 callout. Notice that our mullion is perfectly detailed. Let's go to level 1 again. Let's cut another section through here. Let's open up the section. If we zoom in and click on our thin lines, we'll see that it's detailed in every single section. Now that we have done it this way, no matter where we cut the section, we'll see the fine detail. Also, if the detail changes, it will update in all of our sections. So under Projects, let's grab a new architectural project. On the Architecture tab, let's click the Grid button. I'm going to put a grid right here. I'm going to click it and turn both bubbles on. I'm going to select Grid Line 1. I'm going to click Copy. I'm going to make sure Multiple is selected. I'm going to click a base point and come out about 25 feet. Do it again. And let's make one more. Now I'm going to hit Escape. I'm going to click Grid again. I'm going to add a horizontal one. I'm going to select it, turn this bubble on, and I'm going to call that Grid Line A. I'm going to copy Grid Line A down 40 feet. I'm going to copy it down another 40 feet. Perfect. Now I'm going to go to my west elevation. I'm going to change level 2 to be 12 feet. I'm going to right-click level 2 and create a new level. Like going Create Similar. On my draw panel, I'm going to click Pick Lines. I'm going to offset that another 12 feet. So with it 12 feet, I'm going to go ahead and pick right here. I'm going to select the grids I have and drag them up past it. Then we grab the bottoms and drag them up so I don't accidentally snap to that. You'll see what I mean in a second. I'm going to hit Control-Tab. I'm going to close out of the first floor plan. On my Quick Access toolbar, I'm going to click the 3D view. I'm going to click into the window, and I'm going to type WT. What this does is this tiles the windows. I like to have my elevation over here and my 3D view over here. And I'm just going to type WT again. Now we're going to create a mask. On the Masking and Site tab, go ahead and click on In Place Mask. Revit will enable the Show Mask mode, which is fine. Hit Close. Let's call it Building. Let's hit OK. Now what I want to do is click on the Model button. Revit doesn't know where we want it, so that's fine. We're going to hit the drop down and notice our grids that are showing up. Let's go Grid 1. Let's hit OK. I'm going to click my Line button. I'm going to go down 6 feet. I'm going to pick a point here. I'm going to come all the way across, pick a point there, come up to 6 feet. Now I'm going to go ahead and click on my Start and Radius Arc button. Get the endpoint and pick a point right here and hit Escape. I'm going to go into my 3D view, type ZA, and zooms out. I'm going to click into my elevation. I'm going to click Model again. Now I need to manually set my plane, so I'm going to hit the Set button right here. I'm going to go to Grid 2. I'm going to hit OK. Now I'm going to go from this intersection to here, down to here, up to here. I'm going to click my Arc button. I'm going to click the point right here. I'm going to come way up to here and hit Escape a couple times. I'll orient this to the direction that it's going in. Notice now when you hover over these, they're solid continuous lines. That's important. I'm going to click back into my elevation. I'm going to click Model. I'm going to click Set. I'm going to go to Grid 3. I'm going to click OK. This time I'm going to click on my Pick Lines button. I'm going to hover over the arc on the smaller one, hit Tab, and then pick it. Hit Escape a couple times. Notice that it puts it back here. Go back to your elevation, click Set. Let's go to Grid 4. Click OK. Let's click Model. Pick Lines. Let's grab the bigger one now. Hit Tab, select it. Let's do one more. Click Model. Set. Grid 5. Click OK. Let's use our Pick Lines button. Let's pick the smaller one. Hit Tab. Select it. Now it puts the last one in there. Let's hit Escape a couple times. Now let's double click on the 3D view to make it current. What you need to do is hold the Control key down. Select the first one, second, third, fourth, fifth. Now click on the Create Form button right here, and it creates a form. When you pan around, you see that it extrudes a path along there, creates our 4 walls. Once you're done with that, click Finish Mass. Let's click the Save button. And for the file name, let's call it Massing. Let's click Options, maximum of 1, click OK, and click Save. So knowing that, no matter what the shape, we can still add curtain systems to that mass. Let's click on In Place Mass. Click Close for the Revit has enabled the Show Mass Mode dialog. Let's call it a wall. Let's hit OK. On the Draw panel, let's click the Reference Line button. Let's click on the Start and Radius Arc button. I'm going to pick a point right about here. I want to come up about 60 feet. Now I'm going to pick a point. I want to come all the way over and let it snap to a 30-foot radius and pick that point. I'm going to continue on about another 60 feet. I'm going to come back this way and hit Escape. Now the most important step is, on the Draw panel, I'm going to click on this little point element right here. This will set up a reference point that we can use. I'm going to go ahead and put it right on the midpoint of this arc. Hit Escape a couple times and it'll show up. For elevations, let's go to South. I'm going to zoom in on this. I'm going to click my Reference Line button again. This time I'm going to pick a plane, so I'm going to hit OK. I'm going to come down, hover over this dot, and pick it. On my Draw panel, I'm going to use my Line button. I'm going to pick this endpoint. I'm going to come out about 120 degrees, and I'm going to snap to level 2. I'm going to come up about 2 feet. I'm going to hit Escape a couple times. I'm going to click on Reference Line again. This time I'm going to use my Pick Lines button. I'm going to give it an offset of 6 inches. Pan around on your screen a little bit. I'm going to hover over this line. I'm going to hit my Tab key. I'm going to select them both. I'm going to hit Escape a couple times. Reference. Make sure line is selected. I'm going to close them both out by clicking here to here. And then from here to here. Now if you hover over it, you'll see again that you have one continuous form. Go to a 3D view, zoom in on your wall, select it, hold down the Control key. Now let's pick the S shape. Now let's click Create Form. Excellent. Let's click Finish Mass. Let's go to Massing and Site. Let's click Curtain System. Let's go to our properties. Let's edit type. Let's rename it to 2 by 2. Grid 1 will be 2 feet fixed distance. Grid 2 will be 2 feet fixed distance. Let's hit OK. Let's select that outside face by hitting the Control key. Let's click on Create System. Now we have a curtain system that's slanted in section and is radial in profile. Before long, this type of thing is going to become old hat. We will switch our layout to be triangular. We will then add a pyramid-shaped curtain panel, then load it into our model. From there, we're going to apply it to one of the massing walls we already have modeled. Let's jump into our massing model. Let's go to Massing at Site. Let's make sure we show mass by view settings. This pattern is pretty cool, but there's not much we can do with it. The next step is to create a new family. So let's go to the purple R. Let's go to New. Let's go to Family. The family we're going to use is going to be a curtain panel pattern-based family. Click Open. The first thing we're going to do here is select this little grid. Notice it has the same properties that it did in our massing. Click the rectangle. Let's go down to the triangle flat. Let's change the horizontal and the vertical space to 2 feet. Apply. I'm going to pan around like this. On my view cube, I'm going to go to my top view. I'm going to draw a reference plane right across here. So click Reference. Let's pick a point from the midpoint here to the midpoint here. We'll hit Escape a couple times. Next thing I want to do is grab a point element. Go ahead and select Point Element. Let's click the midpoint of this line and escape a couple times. Go around with 3D view. What I want to do is go ahead and select this point. For the host, I want it not associated. And show reference planes, I want to select always and hit apply. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my back elevation. I'm going to click the move button. I'm going to pick a base point and I'm going to move it up 3 inches. Escape a couple times. Let's go to a 3D view. I'm going to go ahead and select this line and delete it. Let's draw some more reference planes. So let's click Reference. Let's make sure our 3D snapping is turned on. I'm going to draw a line from this point to this point, and from this point to this point, and then from this point to this point. We now have the skeleton all set. What we're going to do now is create some shapes. By holding down the Control key, I'm going to select this line, and this line, and I'm going to create form. Revit gives us a couple choices. Let's pick the flat one. We'll spin it around to this side. Hold down my Control key. Pick this. Let's create a form. Pick the flat. Shift back around. Let's do one more. Control key. Pick. Create form. And we'll do the flat one. Cool. Let's click the Save button. What we want to do is save it as Pyramid. Pyramid. For options, let's save it one backup. Let's hit OK. Let's hit Save. Let's click Load into Project. Go ahead and select your massing element. Let's click Edit in Place. Just to warn you, what we're about to do can take upwards to 5 minutes. Go ahead and select your divided surface. Now click the drop down. Let's find Pyramid in the list. It's under Triangle Flat. If you remember, that's the type we used, and it's Pyramid. Go ahead and select Pyramid and wait for it. Okay, now that you got your haircut, your taxes done, and took a short vacation, we'll see that our panels are in here. I'm going to zoom in and check it out. And the next maneuver is going to take probably another couple minutes too. We need to finish the mass. So click Finish Mass. Here we go. We can set our visual style to realistic. We can zoom in and take a look at the new panels that we've created. Pretty cool, huh? So now we have a freeform shape applied to another freeform shape.